is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
Is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
We believe in peace through strength. You have to have the strength. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America, and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. We had 52 days of thunder and lightning on the Houthis in Yemen like they've never seen before. This was a swift, ferocious, decisive, and extremely successful use of military force. So we hit them hard, we got what we came for, and then we got out. The gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits. The birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
So, welcome everybody to the, what day is today? Today's Wednesday. Things just go by so quickly. Kind of hard to keep up with everything that this man is doing. And in case you haven't heard, if you lived under a rock or maybe you've been ill, President Trump at this point is changing, how can I say this so that these people upstairs don't get mad? He is changing the world order. See, I said yesterday something that preceded that with N, and they didn't allow me to say it. They said you had to take it down. We're going to community note you if you say that phrase. If you say that phrase that has to do with NWO, you're not allowed to say that. But it's no longer something we can say is a conspiracy theory because we're not talking about the Democrats and the globalists. We're watching President Trump in real time change the world as we know it. The speech he gave was simply amazing. If you didn't really focus in on the words that he was saying, of course I'm not playing the entire 1 hour speech again, But people are starting to wake up this morning, or actually this afternoon, and they're realizing the world changed yesterday. We've always, probably since the time I was a little kid, have expected that the Middle East was at war. And biblically speaking, the Arabs and the Muslims and the Jews, they were never going to come to any kind of an agreement, and it was going to be war forever. And what we saw basically in the last, I'd say 48 hours, is the first president I've ever seen that has said, I'm going to make this work, and I'm going to try and make this work as much as I possibly can. I know what you guys have done. I know what you guys have done. I know what all you have done. Now, let's start getting real here. It's 2025. Can we try and change this? Or are you going to live out a biblical prophecy and blow each other up? Try to coexist over there. You guys stop. India, Pakistan, chill. Just take a chill here. We can do this. Will it last? History has shown us it doesn't. The Bible tells us it won't. But in any event, here's a man who's trying. And yesterday's speech was simply incredible. And meanwhile, the Democrats are just over here foundering. They literally have nothing. And I'm going to show you something today because it's not just Donald Trump that's kicking butt. His entire administration at this point is kicking butt, taking names, taking no prisoners. Don't expect any mercy. So I've got some things to show you about Donald Trump, and then I've also got some things to show you that there were a couple of hearings this morning on how RFK Jr. took care of his hearing and just swatted Democrats and spanked them like they were bad kids. And then Kristi Noem, a woman, did the exact same thing. Spank, spank, spank. The Trump administration has changed the world order, if you want to say, and you better get used to it. And there's so many things happening. Another gazillion dollars in investment. It just doesn't stop. Again, remind yourself, January 20th or 21st is when he was inaugurated. Seemingly at this point, it was like 5 years ago, when in reality, it's been a little over 100 days. And it just keeps coming. And you're going to hear RFK Jr., he's going to echo that refrain. What are you people talking about? It's been 100 days. And the Democrats keep trying to raise problems and want to fight being arrested and want to hang their hat on continually losing arguments. The Maryland man, didn't work. And then they've gone through all these, now they're on another one where they don't want anyone to have any sort of compassion for the 60 white people that came from South Africa. Another losing argument. You've got newspapers, or we don't use newspapers anymore, but websites out there from media organizations going, yeah, we blew it. We were wrong. The tariffs didn't hurt anybody. Oh yeah, and by the way, Joe Biden was a walking vegetable. We lied. Anybody who takes those media outlets serious ever again, you need to have your head examined. And that's why I'm happy Trump is doing so much, because I don't want to show too much of them anymore. Because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing as an American to see a political leadership group, because they're still leaders, just be completely eviscerated, emasculated. I don't know what the word for a woman who is emasculated is, but we're watching these guys just lose it. So we're going to show you all that. I'm going to try and cover the Trump part first. Like I said, there's going to be 3 parts. We're going to have the Trump part, we have the Kristi Noem part, actually RFK Jr., then we're going to have Kristi Noem. But in between there, at 2:30, Reagan Reese from the Daily Caller, she'll be joining us, and we're going to talk to her what's been going on in the White House and in the White House press room, which maybe she could take a break this week while he's over there and flying around and making deals. But in any event, let's listen more to what President Trump said in his speech.
Years, far too many American presidents have been afflicted with the notion that it's our job to look into the souls of foreign leaders and use U.S. policy to dispense justice for their sins. They loved using our very powerful military, and now it's really the most powerful it's ever been. We just are getting a budget approved, $1 trillion, highest budget we've ever had in history for military, $1 trillion. And we're getting the greatest missiles, the greatest weapons. And, you know, I hate to do it, but you have to do it because we believe in peace through strength. You have to have the strength, otherwise bad things could happen. But hopefully we'll never have to use any of those weapons. Seems to be an awfully big waste of money if you're never going to use them, but hopefully we'll never have to use them because the destructive power of some of those weapons are like nobody's seen before. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America, and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. That's what...
I'm sorry, did he just say it's God is basically guiding President Trump? Haven't heard that from a U.S. president in quite some time. And now we also have a president who's promoting peace, promoting it, promoting prosperity, shared prosperity with these other governments, promoting a hands-off approach. We no longer want to be involved in how your nation runs. We just want to make sure you don't mess around. Other than that, have at it. Run your governments. You don't need our money. We're going to be out of your way. You stay out of our way. Deal? And then we could all coexist without us coming over there and trying to do color revolutions and flip governments and everything else. When's the last time you've heard an American president promote that? See, that's powerful to that side of the world. We've always been looked at as the big bully. You guys are going to get involved in our business. You're going to start bombing us because they're pissed off at this guy and you're like the world's enforcer. And Trump's like, no, we're going to build up our military, and our building up our military, we're going to spend a whole bunch of money just so you guys know, don't F with us. Don't start nothing. Proverbial saying, won't be nothing. And he's letting them know it. I'm not here to invade you. I'm not here to drop bombs on you. I'm not here to send in forces and do some sort of color revolution and try to persuade your people that you're bad. You do you. And we're here to be good trade partners, to be good friends, to be ambassadors of peace and prosperity. You keep hearing that word over and over and over again. And I know some people like prosperity, and I'm not going to worry about that anymore because I've gotten enough emails and messages from people like, yes, this is what we want. This opportunity is an opportunity of a lifetime. And you can thank President Trump for bringing it aboard.
I really want to do. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and...
Ooh, chop, 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 chop. Hey, Deep State, he's obliterating you. He told you, Deep State, he's going to obliterate you. No. We're not in all this nation building. We're not here to do all this stuff and have fake NGOs that are siphoning money from American citizens to come over here and supposedly nation build. That's your nation. You build it. You want to do some business and want one of our construction companies to come over here and you want to help us out or something? Yeah, we can talk about that. But we are not sending the CIA and the deep state into your country. It's not going to happen under my watch. You want to build a nation, build your damn nation. And you don't need us telling you what you need to eat, where you need to go, how you need to do anything with your people. Treat your people well. Treat your people with dignity. Don't go looking to start wars and stuff like over in Ukraine and Russia, because he's probably whispering to Putin, chill, stop all this stuff. Go ahead and build your country. You got a whole lot of stuff you need to do with your stuff. And so right now, when you heard that speech, when I heard it last night with you guys, and I was listening, and I thought to myself, this man better have the best security man can possibly get. I understand he does, because he's got the golden dome of God walking around with him. But these things that he's saying right now make him the most dangerous man in the world. And I hope you realize it at this point. This is the most dangerous man in the world, and it's not because of any weaponry, not because of any defense, not because of anything other than he is working, as he told us, to obliterate the deep state, and this has been one of their piggy banks, depending on how much money these people needed, both the left and the right. He mentioned the words neocons. So the Lindsey Grahams of the world, all you people who've been profiting off of death, he just called you out. It's over. That gravy train is done. Deal with it.
Billions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how.
Oh, there's a new word for you. The interventionalist. Were you guys playing along at home and listening to what he was saying here? Or did it just fly by really quick and you didn't take a chance and pause and listen? Who is he talking about? The so-called interventionalist. He's not talking about the people over there. He's talking about Americans. He's letting other countries know that we're no longer going to be that type of country here. We are no longer going to come over and get our face and nose in your business. And the people were clapping. Oh, really? This is a new kind of America, isn't it? Yes, it is a new you-know-what world, and you can finish in the last word. There's a reason why these people didn't want me saying it. And after I got off last night, I realized the reason why they don't want people saying it, because we exposed, if we keep talking about it, we'll expose what they wanted to see happen. They wanted it, and Trump's basically chopping it off at the knees. And hopefully, not just that, I hope he takes a grinder to that stump and grinds it out so it never can grow again. And the magnitude of what this man is saying, you could see it in the faces of the Saudis. You know, there was no picture of, what people over here were saying, because most people probably didn't realize it had anything to do with us when it had everything to do with us. He was telling you it's different now. We are no longer going to do that. And how we're going to do it? We're going to build up the biggest, baddest military we possibly can. We're going to spend $1 trillion just to let you know, don't start anything. And other than that, I hope our guys are reading magazines and watching movies on bases. We don't want to have to do it. Don't get us involved, which is different than how the three-letter agencies in the deep state have been handling things for decades.
Do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves.
So when you hear him say things like, they wanted to get involved in your country, They wanted to get involved with your country without understanding what your customs were, what your people were like, what their religions and faith were. They just wanted to just come in and dabble and help you kill. And if we helped you kill, you'd have to buy more planes and more, ammunition, and then probably all kinds of stuff. Just go ahead and blow this stuff up. We don't care. We don't care what happens to your country. That's not of importance to us. We just want to keep the war machine going. And so that, in my mind, makes him the most dangerous man in the world, because the more he goes out and spreads this message, the worse it is for them. And there was something, some people didn't realize, and I know there's been some stories about whether or not, the whole thing that happened with Vegas a while back, was that really an attempt on MBS's life back then. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe it was, because the friendship these guys have developed. I want to show you this. President Trump's leaving. And as I show you this, I want to ask you, in your life, you may be older than me, you may be a little bit younger. In your life, have you ever seen this kind of rapport with another world leader and an American president? This video, I think it's about 2 minutes long. I want you to see this because this is pretty incredible. Let me play it from here. This is the president, and he's heading back to Air Force One, and he's got MBS in the limo with him. He is in there, in the beast. He's in the beast with the president. I haven't seen any videos in some time where another world leader surrounded by his group are inside the beast. It's incredible. Now, he let him ride along with him inside probably one of the most secret vehicles ever known. And he's in there with him. And what you see next is just incredible as they both get out and start walking towards the plane. And as you watch this, I want you to just look at it and tell me if you've ever seen anything like this. And if you've already seen it, don't be a spoiler for everybody else. But President Trump, obviously, he shakes everybody's hands. He's going to get ready to board US 1. And then he and MBS do something that I've never seen two world leaders do before. So they're, giving their cordialities, and they're getting ready to climb the plane, and all these people around him, and it's very cool, very cool. So he's headed to the plane. I'll let you guys just watch, and when it gets to the point, you'll see it. I got the music down because I don't know, whose music it is, whoever put this video together, so I don't want to get in trouble with the powers that be. But MBS is looking at him, just standing there. Watch this. Let me know if you've ever seen that before. I've never. My boy, bro, sup? We got this. Never have you seen that. You seldom see it between two guys unless they're on a football team or something. Never seen a politician. Right here, man. You're right here. To me, that's extremely significant because there's only a few people I've ever done that with. Think about in your life. Ladies may not think of that. Is that a big gesture? Ask your husband. Ask your boyfriend. There's only few people in your close proximity that you go, gotcha, man, gotcha, love you. That's not a cordial. You just do that for anyone. That's for someone you hold in high respect. And here's basically the king. I think the king's, he's sick, but that's the king's son, NBS, who runs the country at this point. And that's how they separated. Megan's, let me just make sure I'm not missing her. She's got like 4 minutes before she gets in here. But I just wanted you to see that. So I think I can go, you know what? Well, this is what I'll do because she's supposed to come on at 2:30. And I don't want to start talking and then have to cut. So let's just go ahead and take some comments. Let's see here. Very audio. Look at the comments. It's fine on my end. Check. You're losing your audio. It sound is fine on Rumble. It's not me. I've got full red, full green. Mic is fine. It's not me, guys. Let me ask. Hey, SV, are you saying something? Very speed is fine here. Try and refresh. Yeah, enough with sound. Okay, SV and the moderators, they tell me if something's wrong, and he's like, it's fine. All right, so I don't know who you guys are and what you're doing. Sounds messed up. I don't know. Don't know. Okay. All right, Megan is in here, so let me get her set up, and I'll check with SV. But I've got full green here. And Megan's microphone, it looks like it's good. So I'll be right back. Then we'll have Megan out here. Yeah, SP said it's fine. So I don't know what you guys are trying to say. But anyway, I've got Reagan Reese from the Daily Caller up in 90 seconds.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
So SB was telling me people were like weirded out because there was no sound in the clip. You could hear me, but there was no sound in the clip. There wasn't any. I cut the music down off that clip, and I was just trying to talk to you and show you what was going on. So it wasn't cutting out. It was just I would get quiet and look, and then the clip didn't have any sound. So it was just a clip with no video. So before I bring Reagan on, I want to show you something. She penned this article. Let's see, when did she write this? This article was May 7th. And this May 7th article that Reagan wrote says Trump's first federal judicial nominees fought against sex changes for transformers and limitless abortion. So rather than read this entire article, which you guys should go read after we get done talking, let's just go to the source and ask Reagan what this article was all about. And I've got a few other questions for her. So everybody, Reagan Reese from the Daily Caller. Reagan, can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Barry.
Hey, man. How you doing, Reagan? Just wanted to make sure your mic was up. All right. So that article, just the title alone is bombastic. So tell us about that article and what research you found in regards to finding out that these judicial nominees, which is probably why they're trying to hold everything up at this point. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, so with these judicial nominees in March, when we were in the White House briefing room, Trump and his staff were railing against the liberal judges who are trying to block his agenda from taking place. And so we asked Caroline Leavitt, because President Trump at the time had about 46 judicial appointments to make at that point. We asked her when President Trump was going to start shaping the judicial branch. And she, at the podium, promised me a list of those first couple judges that they were planning on nominating to various district courts, appeals courts. And, at the top of May, I got a call from the White House and they said, Reagan, remember when you asked about this in March? We have that list for you. We're fulfilling what we promised you from the podium. And so President Trump made 6 judicial appointments. So 6 of the 46 that he's has to make at this point. And of those judges, I went through and I kind of looked through all of their history, and that's that article that you pulled up. These are people who have clerked for Justice Clarence Thomas, for Justice Kavanaugh, for Amy Coney Barrett, and these are individuals who have, argued in front of the Supreme Court, who have represented their respected states. Both Tennessee and Missouri is where a majority of these picks come from. And they have fought against, sex changes for children. They have fought against President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. They have fought against limitless abortions. And in almost every case, these guys that President Trump nominated won. And so I think the big concern amongst President Trump's base and probably your audience is, are these people that President Trump is appointing, are they going to have his back? Are they going to be loyalists? And from my reporting, I can report that these guys look like they are following the Trump agenda and are MAGA, and so we should have confidence in these first 6 appointments.
Even the one who clerked with Amy Coney Barrett, because I know a lot of people are suspect about her.
Well, so she's on the appeals court. She was nominated to the appeals court in Missouri, if I remember correctly. She clerked for both Amy Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Justice Clarence Thomas. So, not just Amy Coney Barrett, and so she has a lot more experience than just that one job.
Okay, so where in the process are they? I know they've been nominated, but I saw Chuck Schumer said he was going to hold up all nominees until he got to the bottom of the Qatar jet, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, so they're still waiting on being confirmed. I haven't heard anything in that nature yet. But, of course, the nomination is a good first step. And so now it's up to the Senate. And, there was reporting that came out right before President Trump made the appointments that the Senate was kind of checking their watch, tapping their toe, wondering, when is President Trump going to make these appointments? And so the Senate should be ready. I know Senate Republicans were eager to get those appointments, and so here they are. Time to get going.
What about the you said 46? These are 6 that he nominated. Any time frame on the remaining 40?
Unfortunately, I have no update on the remaining 40. Hopefully, I think President Trump, right before he gave those first 6 appointments, was asked about it on Air Force One, and he was told that he was going to start making appointments rapidly. And so, hopefully that means not just 6 every 2 months. Hopefully that means there's going to be more coming. We're now about 2 weeks or a week out from that first list of appointments. So hopefully we'll get to see some more, and I'll keep you in the loop if I hear anything else.
Please do. So president's traveling over to the Middle East. When's he due back? Because I'm missing Caroline's press conferences, and I guess you're not in Abu Dhabi, so you look like you're home too. What's happening there? I mean, there's probably a bunch of press who didn't make the trip who are wondering, how are we going to get some more information? When's she due back? And what have you heard in the press room in terms of how they're reacting to his trip?
Yeah, they're due back at the end of the week. I believe it's Friday at some point. So you're probably not going to see a briefing from the White House podium this week. Who knows? Maybe we will get a briefing from one of the White House officials that are on that trip. They might brief the reporters that are out there in the Middle East with President Trump. We did see President Trump come back on Air Force One last night and speak to reporters just about his trip and take some questions. He's typically pretty good at that. But I know we're always all eager to see Caroline take the podium and kind of swat down those legacy media reporters. But of course, I think that the gift from the Qatari government of this Air Force One is something that I think the legacy media is trying to get to overshadow this trip. And so when I look at how the press is reacting and what I'm hearing from, fellow reporters, they are really into this plane. And, President Trump this trip is supposed to be about securing investments from these various countries, about peace deals, etc. And the legacy media is very focused on this gift of this Air Force One plane. And so that's, I think they're trying to make that overshadow the trip and ignore kind of the investment element of what's happening on the president's trip.
It seems like nothing is working, and almost I feel like this Qatar jet thing is a deflection or to keep people from keeping their eye on the ball. And I don't even think it's a deflection from President Trump's accomplishments and his speeches and what he's doing. I think it's a deflection to keep people away from what they've done. And what I'm talking about is the growing scandal of so many people in the media being a part of the Joe Biden cover-up that's starting to happen. What are you hearing in the White House about that? Because, first of all, I can't believe Jake Tapper of all people, decides to write a tell-all book when you've known this stuff through the election and didn't do anything, and you must be side by side with some of these people who look the other way.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I look back to my time in the Biden White House. I covered the Biden White House for about a year, and I saw these reporters get awfully cozy with the administration. And so when they claim that the White House aides were gaslighting them or not telling them the truth about Biden's condition, I'm sure, yes, there was some of that. Who here wasn't bullied by a Biden press office official at some point for writing about Biden's condition? But they weren't writing the same stories I was writing.
Right.
When I was watching President Biden with just my eyes. I didn't need anyone to tell me anything that was going on behind the scenes to look in front of me at, a president's speech or Biden in the Rose Garden and realize he is not walking all right. He needs someone to kind of hold his arm and guide him through events. He is stumbling through his public remarks. And it's, I can imagine there has to be some frustration that all of this is coming out now, both from the American people, but also with all of these. I feel like the Biden stories that have come out this week from Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson in their book have also really dominated the news cycle. And I'm sure that can be frustrating for current White House officials who are trying to tout their boss's leadership, and instead the press is now finally deciding to look back at President Biden's condition and kind of all turn their eyes that way.
I mean, I don't know how they retain any credibility whatsoever. Even with somebody like, what's his name, George Clooney, saying when they did that event that Joe Biden didn't even recognize him. I'm like, you guys kept this away from the American people. Do you think there's any culpability in terms of, I don't know, maybe the White House officials, even some people in the press who openly lied, if not openly lie in terms of say the words, but by trying to hide things? The one thing I heard that really disturbed me, and people had to have known it, was that he was this close away from having to be in a wheelchair. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I mean, that's the worst thing I could, besides him being completely gone. But do you think they face any culpability? Are they looking themselves in the mirror?
Absolutely not. I don't think, and I think I would caution everyone that if you do get an apology from any of these mainstream media reporters or Biden White House aides, to be skeptical of that apology. And I don't think it is honest because, this wheelchair incident, for example, they report, Alex and Jake in their book, that these White House aides knew they couldn't put him in a wheelchair until after the election. Wow. Because if they put him in a wheelchair before the election, they would tell the American people, hey, essentially what you're seeing is correct. Yeah. And they don't have the respect to tell the American people that. There was one Biden White House official that they quote in their book who actually resigned from the White House because he felt like the president shouldn't be running again, and that what they were doing, putting him up for re-election, was wrong. That's probably the only person you should accept an apology from, because that person, had the respect for themselves and for the American people to resign from the Biden White House. But just the fact alone that they didn't want to signal to the American people that Biden was really declining and put him in a wheelchair until after the election, until after the American people had decided to put him in the White House once again, is a giant slap in the face.
You can just imagine how much stuff they knew and didn't reveal about Kamala. That's the next shoe to drop. Is like, okay, so if you hit all this stuff about Joe Biden, what did you hide about Kamala? Was she drunk? Was she a witch behind the scene with everybody quitting on her? Where did the money go? You didn't spend $1 billion. These people must know this stuff, but I'm not going to ask you any questions. I'm just going to make the statement because you got to work with them every single day. And speaking of working with them every single day, and don't answer this if it could get you in trouble, but it seems as though Caitlin Collins, after the last couple, public floggings that she's gotten from President Trump and Stephen Miller, has been kind of quiet. Is that by design, or have they basically cast her aside?
I have no idea. I have not, actually seen her. I kind of stick to doing what I do. She was the first Daily Caller White House correspondent, actually. And so, we kind of refrain from commenting on people who used to work for us, just out of respect. I think that's a good way to operate in the swamp. But on your Kamala Harris point, there was another book that was published by Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes, and they revealed that Kamala Harris's campaign became obsessed with the size of chairs that she would sit in while they were on the campaign trail.
What?
So if you remember when she did her CNN interview with Tim Walz, she looked very small.
Yeah.
And so they hated that. They thought, oh my gosh, she does not look like she could be the president of the United States. So for every public appearance she did after that, they would make people measure the chairs, and they had certain parameters for what the size of the chair had to be, where the armrest had to fall, and things like that, Barry. Wow. It's like, oh my gosh, what about releasing a campaign platform? That's what you guys should have been concerned about, not the height of her chair.
Wow. I don't know if you're too young, but the first video ever played on MTV was Video Killed the Radio Star. And it seems like video is killing politicians. If you got to go to that point where you got to make sure you're higher than the other person, that's really bad. And it's just promoting an illusion when it's not actually the truth. If be who you are at that point. It's just crazy. So speaking of problems in the press room, and again, you danced really well at the other one, and I won't push you at it, but this one you may be able to comment on. What in the heck? I mean, first of all, is this real that the White House correspondents want to sue the White House because Tim Pool and some other people are sitting in the front media seat? I cannot believe they would continue to try and commit suicide, but is there any truth to that?
I have not seen the news of a potential lawsuit, but I will say this. There were no wires that were invited on this trip, wire outlets, meaning Reuters, Associated Press, etc. And President of the White House Correspondents Association, Eugene Daniels, put out this, this scathing statement about that. He said, this is an assault on the freedom of the press, etc. And then if you look at the list of the reporters that are traveling on Air Force One, it's all legacy media and left-leaning media. It's New York Times, it's NPR, it's CBS, Caitlin Collins is out there, it's CNN. And so it's not even like, the horrid new media is taking these seats from these Wired reporters. It's the same people that all of these people run with. It is the legacy media, it's the mainstream media reporters. And so I do think that as long as the White House Correspondents Association fails to recognize that Americans are getting their news from different ways of the legacy media, and that letting in new media voices and letting in these outlets that Americans are getting from is not an assault on the First Amendment. It is an assault on your rights. It is actually raising the First Amendment up. But as long as they fail to see that, I think they're going to fight a losing battle. And I think if they were more willing to work with the new media, there could actually be a solution between the White House and the White House Correspondents Association, because it's a lot of work to coordinate press action and who travels with the president. And the White House has so much on their plate already. I'm fairly confident that they would be happy to not have to coordinate that anymore.
Yeah, it seems as though, the old saying, iron sharpens iron. If Tim Pool's audience is much bigger than XYZ reporter, instead of trying to shut him up, maybe you might want to do enough to build your own community and audience up and try. It seems like it would make me a better journalist. I hate using the word journalist, but a better reporter or White House reporter. The competition to get the eyeballs, we all have to do it. Benny's out there, Patrick Bet-David, Tim Pool, Glenn Beck, everybody is after eyeballs, and I don't want people to say, make Benny's channel go away so we can be better. And that seems like how these guys are acting. They're acting like they don't want other people to play in the sandbox because they're afraid, they might get pushed aside, which inevitably is what's happening. And I commend you and Monica and some of the younger people who are out there trying to build the brand, write the stories that you're doing, and bring truth. That's the bottom line, is just bring the truth. Speaking of truth, what in the heck is going on with these Democrats trying to bum rush their way into ICE facilities? And do you think, or is there any buzz that you're hearing where they might indeed get arrested?
I don't know anything about whether they would get arrested or not, but I did write a piece today about how the GOP is looking ahead to 2026 midterms and how they are using Democrats being in disarray right now to help propel themselves to further victory in 2026. And why I think this relates is that one of the things that I heard from these officials, both in the White House and, GOP party officials, but also consultants and strategists, that as long as these Democrats choose to do weird things like this, choose to participate in these violent rallies, protests against Tesla, continue to, lift up the furthest left candidates of their party, that it's going to be a losing message, and that they can take these things and they can show them to the American people, whether it be tomorrow, whether it be a couple weeks before the 2026 election, and it's still going to be effective because it just shows that the Democrats are really out of step with the American people. And so I think doing things like you mentioned are just, these things are not persuasive. It's not what the American people want to see. And it really just speaks to the fact that the Democrats are truly in disarray.
If you were going to write a story today about Democrat leadership, who is it that you would approach as being a leader of that party right now? Because it seems like you're just adrift. Who is it you'd say, listen, I need to get an interview and a statement from this person?
I would say it would have to be AOC and Bernie Sanders, but also Pete Buttigieg is doing this weird kind of campaign trail type thing. He's growing a beard, which kind of feels like he's trying to blend in almost with like the right side of the country. And so those are the three that I think have emerged as the people who are trying to be leaders in the party. I don't think it would be Whitmer of Michigan, who's now, holding up her folder in the Oval Office, dodging photo ops, but visiting President Trump. I think Gavin Newsom's been rather quiet despite launching a new podcast. And so it seems to be those three. And by the way, I do think that those three are losing candidates for the Democratic Party. They are, every element of the country, for the most part, shifted right in the 2024 election. And so you're going to pick the people who embrace the furthest left of your party. It doesn't make sense.
I almost think that Pete Buttigieg is growing his beard because he's anticipating Trump not being there in 2028 and that he'd be running against J.D. Vance, and he wants to look the part because he looks like the guy from Mad Magazines or anything. All right, so last question, Megan, what do you got coming up next?
Yeah, what do I have coming up next? That's a great question. I think we're going to be staying on these Robert Hur Biden interview tapes. I'm hoping that we will be able to see the release of those too, and hopefully soon. So tune into the Daily Caller. We'll hopefully have some reporting on that. And then I think that there's going to be some interesting movement from the right going on in New Jersey. And I think that the president's endorsement on Monday in the New Jersey governor's race is a good indication that the White House thinks that they can make a play at New Jersey in 2026 and beyond. And so I would stay up to date with the Daily Caller, because I think I'm going to have some good news and some answers on both of those topics for your audience.
Wow, that would be something. They were close. I think they were close to turning New Jersey, and I think they may have done some shenanigans, but now Alina Hobb is up there, and if she can make sure it's a clean race in New Jersey, yeah, he might, well, whoever, not Trump, but it could make things very interesting for sure. Very interesting. Reagan, thank you very much for your time again today. I know you got a couple days of rest before everybody comes back. Hope you have a great weekend, and see you very soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Barry.
All right, bye-bye. All right, everybody, that was, as we just said, Reagan Reese from the Daily Caller, White House reporter. Hope you guys got some insight from that, understood that she's in the thick of things up there. And you have to be able to dance and make sure that you're not offending anybody or giving out any information. But she did say some things were coming more about the Robert Hur tapes. Robert Hur, in case you don't remember, was the special counsel. Special counsel? Yeah. Who did the investigation into Biden. And when he did the investigation into Biden, couldn't prosecute him because he said he was too whacked, too far gone to withstand the rigors of a trial, and that there's no way they could convict him because he's toast. Now, the only question I have, I should have asked her, is why is everybody beating up on Biden right now? He's done, he's out, and it would be very interesting. Maybe you guys can say it in the chat. What are they doing? Why are they looking to destroy Joe Biden now all of a sudden? Because it doesn't really make a lot of sense after the fact, does it? I mean, to me, I think it would get them in trouble if we start looking here, unless they're going to offer him up as a sacrificial lamb. Just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Let me take a break here real quick and just talk to you about kimchi and kimchi one. There's a war happening right now, and it's probably not where you think. It's in your gut, in your tummy. There's all kinds of stuff that's going on down there. It can make you really, really sick. It's a battle between good and bad bacteria and can determine your overall health. Kimchi One from Bright Core Nutrition. And by the way, I've got a good interview with her coming up tomorrow. We're going to be talking some Maha stuff. Kimchi is the fermented superfood your body needs to arm the good guys with the right weapons to defeat the bad actors once and for all. It contains over 900 strains of beneficial bacteria in each capsule. Kimchi One supports healthy digestion. It fortifies your immune system and helps detoxify your body. Kimchi has also been shown to reduce risk of obesity, which is why I take it, and promote smaller waistlines by curbing appetite and naturally boosting your metabolism. Today you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below. Just use code BARRY for 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, and I would suggest doing this, it would be to call them. Call the people at Brightcore, and just by calling and letting them talk to you and explain the product to you, you will get a 50% discount off your order and free shipping. So give them a call now at 888-418-6738. That's 888-418-6738. All right, so let's continue with this information I had about President Trump. And what we were talking about earlier was his amazing just amazing speech. And I'm sorry if you guys misunderstood when I was playing that video. There was no sound in their meeting, and I was just wanting you to show it. So after he got done speaking with and meeting with MBS over in Saudi Arabia, then he went to Qatar. And you won't believe this kind of greeting that he got in Qatar. And again, there's no sound here. This is just the procession of them leading him to, I guess, the main castle. I swear those two vehicles in front look like Cybertrucks. I'm saying those are two Cybertrucks. I didn't notice that until just now. You guys notice that? Those two lead procession vehicles with the police in Qatar, those are two Cybertrucks. You can tell by the front. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm just looking at that right now. Those are two Cybertrucks bringing President Trump into. Oh, look at that procession. That's absolutely awesome, man. That's one huge procession of cars right there. That motorcade, everybody, yeah. But those are Cybertrucks. Elon must feel so good about seeing that. They're bringing him to the castle with the Cybertrucks. And then as they come around the corner, I think in this video you also see them with they're going to be doing the sword dance, which was really cool. So the Middle East really rolled out the red carpet for President Trump.
It is 2:46 in the afternoon in Qatar. He just landed moments ago at the airport. Apparently, they will have a state visit today. Tonight, they will have a state dinner at Lusail Palace.
Right. This is traditional from that culture. They did this also in Saudi Arabia in the last trip. I remember that. And if you look closely on the overhead shot of the camels, you'll see those signs that say, please, you're responsible to clean up after your camel. So if you're on that camel...
you have to get down off the camel
Get off the camel and clear up. Just grab the hump, hop down.
This is all the pageantry that the president loves. I mean, it's just a beautiful sight to see this happen. Different cultures coming together. And it's all for peace right now. We talk a lot about the economic development, but I think the big headline is peace in the Middle East. Will we finally obtain that under this administration?
Looks very developed. Looks beautiful.
It does.
I mean,
very
people,
hot.
I mean, that is a place where the rich and the rich go, and you see a lot of sports development in the area. And now you see the President of the United States. This is one president that says, I love this stuff.
Yeah,
He will
does.
tell you.
Yeah.
He loves the pageantry because he understands, too, that they're showing respect to the country. This isn't for Trump Tower. This isn't for Trump Organization. They're showing respect to the country. And I think right now the Gulf states are very intrigued about what could be happening next. They want to live a world in which they're not so dependent on their oil reserves because they know they're finite.
Yeah, the current leader of Qatar is Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and he's been the emir since 2013. His father was the emir before him. They rule the House of Thani, and their estimated family net worth is $335 billion. This is one of the richest countries in the world because of the vast oil reserves and natural gas.
You know, we're not used to seeing the beast not surrounded by Suburbans that are blacked out, but he's getting an escort by the camels as well as the horses as well. As Brian noted, he loved the pageantry, and it's right because you see the American flags right there. This is not about just Donald Trump. This is about bringing peace to the world and America being the leader again.
Look at the city in the
That's right.
background
It's
on the other
beautiful.
side of the water. And also, Air Force One was escorted by military planes. Four, it appears, on both sides of the plane.
I mean, you literally have seen these cities just sprout up over the last 15, 20 years.
There's the President of the United States
Here's the
stepping out.
president. Yep.
Shaking hands with what appears to be the emir.
Maybe we can hear something.
Walking inside together for this state visit. And then Donald Trump will go to the St. Regis Hotel before the dinner to prepare for that tonight.
So if we can, while we watch some of this and we can hear the ceremonial chants behind, let's bring in Mawaz Mustafa. He's the executive director for the Syrian Emergency Task Force. knows the region quite well, spent a lot of time on the ground during all the worst days during the revolutionary time, saw the role the U.S. was playing in that region, and sees the significance of this trip, especially what happened hours ago, and that's the meeting with the acting president of Syria, who was once and was a founder of al-Nusra, a division of al-Qaeda, as we watch the President of the United States. And Mustafa, what's your take? I don't know if you're near a monitor right now. What's your take on what we're seeing with the president arriving here in Qatar?
We're watching history. We're watching history. President Trump, in this trip, has come in and is reassuring the entire region and, frankly, the entire world that the United States is back, that the United States is here to lead. And with his decision on Syria, he's, I think, transformed the entire Middle East in the right direction.
Muaz, real quickly, if you can pause for a second.
He has transformed the entire Middle East. And I'm watching these people in Qatar salute the American flag. This is stunning. Absolutely stunning. It's historic. It's amazing what you're seeing. And I hope you guys are all taking this in. From him getting on the plane and giving the heart symbol to MBS, to these guys here welcoming him with open arms and saluting the American flag. I saw that and went, are they playing a different anthem in the background that these guys are hearing? Or are they seriously standing there saluting the American flag?
There's a national anthem playing. Let's listen into that real quick, and then we'll get your feedback.
Wow, and I'm sure we'll hear the Qatari national anthem after that. But Moaz, if you want to come in, you would.
We will see this.
All right, so you saw that part. Then we're going to cut to this next clip. But before we get to this next clip, let me tell you what happens here. So he flies into Qatar. He's meeting with these people. And Qatar does a massive multi-gazillion dollar deal with Boeing, an American company. Let me bring this up and show you this deal that they put in place. It is absolutely crazy. Boeing strikes largest ever, in quotation marks, 787 jet deal with Qatar Airways. Boeing and GE Aerospace secured a, quote, $96 billion agreement to sell Qatar Airways up to 210 aircraft. 210 planes. $96 billion of money coming to America. American jobs. Boeing is going to have to produce all of these airplanes. And what are the Democrats talking about? What are they running around? Oh, let me see if I can show you the newest Democrat strategy. You ready for this one? Where is it? I think I have it here. Yeah. The Democratic National Committee will fly a plane with a Qatar Alago sky banner over President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate today. Not too close. You're going to get shot down. The stunt aims to protest President Trump's high-profile Qatar visit and the $400 million jet. He's over there cutting gazillion-dollar deals, and you're flying planes around Mar-a-Lago saying, "Oh, it's bad. He's getting a big jet for the White House, not his own. He's doing it for the Air Force." And you're flying a plane around Mar-a-Lago. Not sure if anybody told him. He's not there. the DNC, the gang that can't shoot straight, is flying a banner around Mar-a-Lago while he's not even here. Many of you probably have never been to or by Mar-a-Lago. Been there. Palm Beach Island has, it's only about this big. It's about this big. If you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it was there. It's tiny. It just happens to be inhabited by some of the richest people in the world, but all, a couple hundred of them aren't looking up, saying, oh, President Trump's doing something bad. No, look at this airplane. And pretty much the people on the beach, what? I think to myself, that's what you got? Seriously? That's what you're spending money on. This man's over here making gazillion-dollar deals, promoting peace and prosperity to the world, showing people how things could be better, and you're flying banner planes around Mar-a-Lago. When I tell you these people have nothing, I'm not exaggerating. They got nothing. I can't imagine sitting in a room, sitting down, hey, okay, what are we going to do to counteract all this press that President Trump's getting? Because he's looking really, dynamic over there, making history, has other countries saluting the flag, standing for our national anthem, getting heart signs from MBS. What do we do? Oh, yeah, Fred, that sounds good. Let's fly a banner plane around his house. Wow. And then you'll see RFK Jr. and Kristi Noem rip these people a new butthole, and as I get to that. I feel like I'm watching a bad movie. I mean, they literally look like the Keystone Cops, the Democrats. They don't know what's going on. And if I didn't show it to you, and if you didn't see that, you've been like, Barry, you're lying. Oh, no, I'm not lying. They're flying planes around Mar-a-Lago for the president who's not even there. Bad. All right, so this is them signing the deal for $200 gazillion planes.
Signing of the agreement of buying aircraft from Boeing. His Excellency Badr bin Abdelamir will sign from the Qatari side, and Kelly Altberg will be signing on behalf of Boeing.
Between the state of Qatar and the United States of America. Boeing purchase agreement signed on behalf of the state of Qatar by His Excellency Badr Mohammed Al Mir, CEO of Qatar Airways Company, and behalf of the United States, Kelly Ortberg, President and CEO of the Boeing Company.
So there's no sound right now. They're just getting ready to sign this contract. And the guy from Boeing, he's got a big smile. He's got a really big smile. I'm going to be rich. Richer. Wow. The guy from Boeing couldn't keep the smile off his face. Oh my gosh. How much money? 100 gazillion? Yes, please, Mr. President. More, please, Mr. President.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Who knew that a few years ago when President Trump said that it would become the meme for an entire generation? That guy at Boeing, the CEO, he must feel that right now. Oh, we're going to win. We're going to win.
Okay, so we're waiting for that microphone to be in a better position there. You heard Boeing mentioned, and that's what this contract deals with.
And that's the CEO right there.
Yes, right on. And so they're making deals, and
Firstly,
making deals. I told you were going to keep hearing that over and over and over. Make sure you understand now that you're going to be hearing that refrain for months. Oh, we just cut a deal. We got another deal. You're all going to feel prosperous. Help build wealth. Don't be afraid of it. Scared money don't make money. It's time you realize that. Time people start embracing, hey, it's okay to try and go for prosperity. Yeah, it actually is. You think we can make some extra dough? Yeah, I think we can. Hey, let me show you this. I posted it on X, and and it was just very interesting to me. Did I post it? Where is it? This one. I wanted you to see this. I posted, OMG, this is going to be the greatest time to be alive ever. Imagine this as your new multi-million-dollar business, buying a fleet of Teslas, working for you 24/7, generating money while you sleep, running your own fully automated Uber-esque type company, making stacks. You also, I think I have this video later for you, but the car is driving itself out the door. It beeps its horn as it, looks around, makes sure nobody else is coming, and these cars are taking themselves off the assembly line. I never thought I'd be alive where I would see cars after they were assembled and put together go, hey, okay, we got it from here. We're just going to go out the door here, okay? Yeah. Furthermore, if that's not enough to tell you that you can make some money, then you get this one. JP Morgan dropped their U.S. recession call following trade truce with China. Nope, doesn't look like America's going to have a recession. We're going to just take that off the board, okay? Yeah, we were wrong. Sorry, oops. What are we going to do? We see all these gazillion dollars coming into America. You might want to get some in a hurry. Where's that other one I had for you? Oh, this one. This one's really good. Politico, as we were just talking to Reagan Reese about the media lying. Oh, Political Dateline. Trump tariffs have little impact on prices so far, defying grim forecasts. The forecast that you put out, the lies that you put out to America, the lies that you keep saying, oh, the tariffs are just big tax on the American people. Oops, hasn't caused any problems. Democrats got nothing as Trump is out there making history.
a letter, a statement of intent on defense cooperation between the State of Qatar and the United States of America.
Well, the difference in this deal is that it's not with some CEO, but the guy at the end of the table on the year level that way, that's Pete Hegseth. And that's Pete Hegseth signing a contract with Qatar for more money, protection, basically, a protection racket. And so they're signing this contract. There's not much to be said while they're signing, but that's exactly what they're doing at this moment. Signing a contract so that Qatar and the United States will have a deal in place for...
Secondly, a letter of offer and acceptance for MQ-9B aircrafts. And a letter of offer and acceptance, FS lids.
Let me just recap to you what happened in Qatar. Just a quick stopover, okay? All right, here's Qatar's information. Trump's Qatar $1.2 trillion deal desk for America. The recap, the American industrial power in full display. White House fact sheet reads like a CEO's earnings call, a deal maker's earnings call. Trump stop in Doha, Qatar, unlocked generational, so that means historic, scale deals across tech, defense, energy, and aerospace. Here's what came out of it. $96 billion to Boeing. $96 billion. Boeing and GE lock in the largest wide-body order in U.S. history. 210 jets that fuel over, no misprint, no misprint, 1 million American jobs. And they're sending banner planes over Mar-a-Lago. Okay. 97 billion in U.S. infrastructure contracts. Parsons wins 30 high-value projects, engineering, innovation, and job creation at scale. $1 billion quantum tech joint venture. Quantum and Al Urbane Capital team up to build next-gen computing and workforce pipelines. $2 billion in defense. That's what Pete Hegseth was doing. $2 billion in defense tech led by Raytheon and General Atomics. Advanced drone systems, counter UAV capabilities, and deepening U.S. and Qatar security ties. $38 billion in future defense and base expansion. The U.S. and Qatar align on burden sharing, missile defense, and maritime capabilities at Al Udeid. This is a full spectrum economic alliance and a blueprint for American manufacturing in the 21st century. Is Trump in? Okay, say he wrote this. This guy, don't know who this is. He wrote this. I couldn't say it yesterday. YouTube wouldn't even let me say those words. It was on my thumbnail. It was in the title. Like, no, Barry, you can't talk about that. And so this guy writes, is Trump engineering one of those in a Middle East deal by deal? 1.2 trillion economic commitment. 1.2 trillion. Let that wash over you. Let that wash over you that you couldn't even say those words when you actually are sitting back right now and going, oh yeah, it's realigning. It's definitely realigning right in front of our eyes. And the media, or actually people up here, don't want you talking about it. Don't bring it up. And by the way, if you do look up for the banner plane, because that's what's important right now. They're killing it. They are bringing in voters by the day, hordes with their banner planes. I'm sure that's what the American people want. And what's weird is you're watching this with me, and hopefully you're enjoying yourself. But understand, you're not going to hear it anywhere else. I mean, you may hear it on some podcasts, but don't turn on CNBC. I'm sorry. Don't turn on CNN. Don't turn on MSNBC. Don't expect to hear it. They'll talk maybe about the banner flying around. There may even be a video. Look, the banner going around Mar-a-Lago that nobody gives a crap about. But another $1.2 trillion. He's running rings around these Democrats, killing them. All right, let's take some comments, because it's been a while since I talked to you guys. The Dems are just sick over this. Yeah, think about it. How do you respond? Maryland man, nope, not going to work. Oh, it's a banner plane. That is historically pathetic. I thought they were jets. Flying across the beach. People like, what? Oh man, true, Barry. Yeah, it's very smiling. Smile bigly. This is killing it. 1.2 trillion, largest is history of any kind. Let's see. Thank you, Barry, for keeping us informed with great news. You're doing a superb job. Thank you. I got some really good stuff coming up. Trump, quote, required several promises from Qatar to disconnect immediately and completely from terror organization sponsorship. They agreed. That's key. It's amazing what money will do. You guys ever see the movie Tropic Thunder? Oh, makes you laugh. Completely laugh. And when Tom Cruise in the fat costume was talking to the Matthew McConaughey, and he was telling him about, let's leave Crazy Jack over there because I'll get you a G5 and lots of money. You're telling these people over there, wait a second, you're going to give us a whole bunch of money and all we got to do is stop acting like idiots? Yep. And you're just going to stay out of our business and not try to take our country down? Yep. That sounds good to me, man. That sounds really good. Oh, yeah. At this point, the Fed will have no choice. No choice. Let's see here. Maybe we can send missionaries saying, hey, Trump is changing the world. Yep, deal by deal, stop by stop. At least that was such a funny movie. Oh, God, I loved it. Money, and yep, that other part, respect. He's definitely getting there. I just saw a comment. It just makes me just. I don't even know why people are the way they are when I see some of these comments. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. I'm not going to put the comment up, but I'm just trying to let people know. Enjoy life, man. Enjoy life. I couldn't imagine walking around with the cloud over my head that some people have. I don't know where you've gotten or what has happened to you, but enjoy your life. Understand what you're seeing is historic. And until something happens otherwise, I'm not asking you to trust Qatar. I'm not asking you to trust Saudis. I'm saying enjoy your life. It's good now. There's no reason to worry about what may happen down the road. Yes, this economy is about to explode. He told you. He said it in a speech. Strap on. Understand what's about to happen. It's going to shoot up. And the one piece they're waiting for is, can you go ahead and lower the stupid interest rates? But which, by the way, you want to know how much this economy is going to fly? Let me show you something, because you may not have seen this. And this is pretty interesting. And it'll show you how much we have to look for in this economy. So let me pull this up. So the economy is so bad right now, the Democrats want to tell you. But I saw this article, and it says, this is dated today, May 14th, on CNBC, money news. You won't see it on CNN or MSNBC. Mortgage demand from home buyers continues to recover even with higher interest rates. Even though the interest rates have not been lowered yet, people are seeing prosperity and going, I need to buy a house. The average contract interest rate for 30 years with conforming loan balances increased from 6.86 from 6.84. And yet, at the same token, people are buying more houses. Mortgage demand from home buyers rose for the second straight week, suggesting that potential buyers are now more enticed by the increasing supply of houses for sale. That's how it works, supply and demand. Than they are dissuaded by recent economic uncertainty and concern over tariffs. There is no concern over tariffs. Don't let your left-leaning bias try to screw up what's happening. People are starting to emerge from a financial shell that has been imposed on us by the Biden regime. And they're like, let's go buy a house. But honey, like right now, the interest rates are only, 6.8. And the wife looks at the guy, I don't care. We got it. Let's go buy a house. Okay. And it's just incredible. I know some of you guys aren't in real estate, but there's some numbers down here. Where are we? The average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed mortgages with conforming loan balances of $800,000 or less increased 686 to 684, with points remaining unchanged at 0.68, including the origination fee for loans with a 20% down payment. Now that is incredible. When you think about that mortgage demand that's increasing is increasing with people who are going to be putting 20% down. What's that tell you? I'll let you stew on that for a little bit. What's that tell you? What should it tell you? It tells you people are sitting on cash. And they're realizing at this point, we can move some of this money around. We can do some certain things. Let's see, what's the Dow at right now? I can tell you what the Dow is. Because, the Dow is down 117, but it's not persuading people not to act. Dow's at 117, the S&P's at minus 499, and people are emerging from their financial shell. to begin getting back into the economy. And it's one of those things where I don't think they can stop it at this point. A war? But who are we going to get in a war with? He's out there cutting deals with everybody that might be a problem. Speaking of problems, you want to start something. SB sent me this. UK hackers target US retail. Google sounds the alarm. First they came for British shops, now they're headed stateside. Google says the same cyber gang that's been hammering UK retailers is now targeting US stores, and they're not your run-of-the-mill script kiddies. Google's cybersecurity arm, these hackers are aggressive, creative, and particularly effective at circumventing mature security programs. Retailers take note, this isn't a spray and pray hacking. This is targeted, professional, and on the move. So you got the bad guys are trying everything they can to disrupt, and this is against retail. So I don't know if it's the bad guys who they think it is. I almost think it's the deep state. How do we stop this roll that President Trump is on? Let's attack retail. Let's hurt business. They're trying everything. They're pulling out all the stops, waiting for the next jabademic to start even, because they know they're in big, big trouble and they can't do anything. Democrats ain't going to help them. We're going to move to right now where we're going to talk about the Democrats with RFK Jr. and Kristi Noem. But it's getting kind of heated. And as you see the responses from these two members of the Trump administration, what you're going to see and realize at this point is it just appears that the entirety of the administration has a not one F to give attitude. We don't care. We're moving forward. Y'all can all just, you know what. And it just seems that way. With what I'm getting ready to show you, I think you're going to see it, because they didn't go to you've seen these hearings, and these hearings go on and on and on. No, these hearings were full of fireworks. And the fireworks because Trump administration was taking no prisoners. I'm telling you. But so some people the other day when gold was moving around in price were like, gold is tanking. And I just wanted to tell you, as I get ready to talk about Lear Capital, gold is not a stock. Gold is not real estate. Gold is gold. It's the only thing that will never be worth zero. It will always have value. Gold is a hedge. Gold is what I use to make sure that in case it's a break glass vehicle. And that's how you should be looking at it. Don't look at it and say, can I make a whole bunch of money at gold? You could. I mean, there's people talking about that gold could go to 4,000 plus. That's fine. But I use it for a hedge. And so let me just relate something to you. Some of you guys have done it. Especially some of you ladies maybe in the South who have canned goods. And Robin, I have to salute her. She is a prepper extraordinaire. I mean, half of our garage is with prep stuff. And if you guys don't know what prep stuff is, you might want to look into that. Prep stuff is break glass type of things. If for some reason the grocery stores couldn't stay open, if the electricity went off, and whatever, we are prepared probably, I'd say, for a few months if anything ever happened. If they shut down this or shut down that, we go out in the garage and we can activate a few things and we're good. We've got propane for our grill so we can have, other food. But we prepared for it. I shouldn't say we as much as she did. She did a whole lot of prepping. And that's on the nutritional side, to make sure we have food in case something happens, to make sure we have water in case something happens. So some of you may be preppers and do things with Patriot Supply and some other things. What are you prepping financially? Yeah, that's something you didn't really think about. What happens if you go to the ATM and it goes bloop, and it's not there, and you can't access your money? Oh, you should see what's going on in the UK. If you go into some banks in the UK and you ask for an amount that they don't like, they're not going to give you your money. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine not having access to your own funds when you need them. But knowing at the same time, if you did have certain things like this, and much more of these, this is silver, this is gold. Imagine if you had that at your arm's length. You have a safe somewhere, whether it be in your house, in your garage, in your basement, for those of you who have basements. Imagine that. You have prepped. You've prepped for food, you've prepped for finances. So I want to just impart upon you that prepping is good. Many of you are already prepping food, water. Are you prepping financially? Well, that's what these guys at Lear Capital are all about. We're in a very volatile time right now. There's plenty of financial uncertainty. Now is not the time to be speculative. And I'm also speaking from a personal perspective. I'm buying income-producing real estate, and I'm buying gold and silver. A lot of people don't know the difference between the economy and the stock market. And too many people listen to the news and social media. That'll get you in trouble. Let's face it. It's obvious that a lot of people have an agenda they're not telling you about. Right now, your best bet is stability. And that means you might need to build a hedge against global volatility. May I recommend gold and silver to you? Real gold and real silver. Not paper, not certificates. Actual gold and silver. What gold and silver can give you is absolute peace of mind. A stock is only as good as the company behind it. It's merely a piece of paper. One of the things I can tell you is that many people are finding out the hard way that some of their investments were built on quicksand. Gold will never be worth zero. Silver will never be worth zero. If you want to calm some of your fears, give my friends at Lear Capital a call today at 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. Just so you know, Lear Capital has over 27 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and over $5 billion in trusted transactions. And Lear is the only gold company with a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. You don't pay unless you're 100% satisfied. So go to learberry.com. If you want peace of mind, give my friends at Lear Capital a call at 800-601-5430. Or look down here below and go to learberry.com. And don't forget to ask about getting up to $15,000 in free gold or silver with a qualifying purchase. Don't wait. Do it now. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. Be safe. I just want to say thank you to the Fanfare community. And if you're new here, I'd like to take a moment and welcome you. If you watch my videos, you've probably realized at this point that this isn't your usual podcast. The difference is that every single day, I try to make this show an open conversation amongst friends. You see, I believe that speaking to friends, here and in your own circle offline, is the best way to push back against all the lies being told by the Democrats and the media. I encourage people in this community to welcome each other, and in doing so become a source of support for those seeking to unplug from the matrix. If you'd like to communicate on a deeper level, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, but if you'd really like to surround yourself with like-minded patriots, join our free and private X group by going to fanfareshop.org/group. When you join this free group, a few things will happen. 1, if you haven't used X before, you can use X without venturing into the sewer that it sometimes can be. 2, you can share content with friends that you meet here. 3, you will get notified every time I go live, so you can't count on YouTube notifications. And 4, and this might be most important, you get content that I can't share on YouTube or Rumble. So please take a moment and join our free and private X group. just go to fanfareshop.org/group. Remember, it's members only. There are 16,000 plus people in that group right now, getting close to 17,000. To join our free and private members only X group, just go to fanfareshop.org/group. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so I'm going to continue with the RFK Jr. montage here. I think you guys are going to enjoy it as he began ripping people new you-know-whats. Check this out.
Is there an analysis that you can provide to this committee prior to us determining the budget that will show that, in fact, those cuts will not be harmful to those objectives?
Yeah, I mean, there were analysis. The simplest analysis was at the outset, the analysis that we're spending $2 trillion a year that we don't have.
Mr. Musk said he was going to cut $2 trillion.
Spending $2 trillion more than you have to make cuts. The other analysis that was more detailed is that
children or the Indians that you're so concerned about?
We didn't cut the Indians. We didn't cut the Indian services.
I'm asking you. You said we have to cut.
I made sure that those services were not cut. I made sure that Head Start was not cut. But the cuts that were done were cuts that were to duplication, to redundancy, to streamlining. We increased our workforce 70% in 4 years, so we were going back to the 2019 levels. I talked to Congresswoman DeLauro last night, and she said, look, NIH has done all this great science so that we can cure cancers faster. And so my question is it a great thing that you can now cure or treat colorectal cancer so only 50% rather than 100% of people die? Or should somebody be thinking about why are we getting colorectal cancer in children, which has never in the history of humanity happened before? It's now an epidemic. There was nobody at NIH to answer those questions. Nobody. No research was done on it. The etiology of all these chronic diseases were just buried because they didn't want to offend the large industries who are putting these poisons in our food and putting them in our pharmaceutical products. For some of these ingredients, we just need to let the public know and probably do labeling so that people can make their own choice. If you want to eat a Twinkie, if you want to drink a Coca-Cola, you should be able to do that. We're a free country. You ought to know that it may increase your cancer risk and that it may increase your risk for diabetes.
See, they are so used to passive Republicans coming up there and just taking their crap. They didn't expect that RFK Jr. was actually coming to this hearing with boxing gloves on. And he had no intention of even giving an inch to their lies. They lie, and he just, bam, I got a microphone in front of me, there's a television camera in front of me, and I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm not going to let you people do what you're used to doing to feckless Republicans who have sat in front of you for years. And then, as you know, most of these people are used to other people telling them the questions and what they should say, and the people asking the questions have no idea what the hell they're talking about. See, polished people who are going to be up there and talking to people who know their stuff know that. They see these people behind them, handing them papers and whispering in their ears. And so I know if I got you and I start hammering you, there's nothing you can do but sit there and take it because you have no idea what I'm even talking about. And that's what you're going to be seeing.
Let me address your first issue first, because I want to correct you. We have about 1,100 measles cases in this country. The growth rate last year was 15 additional, so we have plateaued. Mexico has roughly the same number with a third of our population, and they got 300 extra cases last week. Canada has more measles, 1,500. They have 1/8 of our population. Western Europe has about 6,000, which is 10 times the number that we have. Well, you are wrong about
So this purple-haired chick from Connecticut, DeLauro, decides she wanted to try and school him, and now he's telling her, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Hey, here's some facts. You want some facts? I'm going to give you some facts. And she don't want to hear it now. You see, they come into these hearings with their own agenda and they want to, be the star for their 5 minutes of fame or whatever, and he's not taking it.
We look at our children. They're the sickest children in the world. Laura, you say that excuse me, Congressman DeLauro, you say that you've worked for 20 years on getting food dye out. Give me credit. I got it out in 100 days.
I'll give you that credit.
All right, so let's work.
She had to actually admit it. You heard, I don't know if you could hear her. I'll have to give you that credit. You've been working for 20 years to get this done. I showed up a couple months ago, and you're giving me a hard time? You people have no idea what you're doing. We got it done. What do you say? You're a Democrat politician. You just sit there and go, yeah, okay. Well, can you stop beating me up in front of everybody?
Together and do something that we all believe in, which is have healthy kids in our country, for God's sake.
Miss
Do
Dane.
that together. It's not, there's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. There's just kids, and we should all be concerned with them.
If you are now he uses that refrain a couple of times during his testimony, and it's a refrain that there's nothing that they can respond with. I don't have a Republican kids. We don't have MAGA kids. We don't have Democrats. Notice how I split that up. They're just kids, and so they're not political pawns. We need to take care of the kids. Well, I would say you need to take care of everybody that way. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, MAGA, doesn't matter. We need to take care of people, and we need to be completely agnostic to their political beliefs. Once you say that, what's the response that somebody can come back with? There's nothing. They don't have anything. Now, this guy here, who I believe he was a dentist in his profession, he looks like the devil. He looks like the guy from Poltergeist. And now he's trying to come in. He's to make his point.
In banning fluoride, I noticed you congratulated Utah and Florida, I think, for banning it. That's up to them. They can do what they want. But we better put a lot more money into dental education because we're going to need a whole lot more dentists.
I think that, Marty McCary's concern with ingestible fluoride is that the emerging science shows the benefits to fluoride to cares and to cavity prevention comes from topical exposures rather than it was once thought that it was systemic, that if you ingested it, that the benefit came from that. We now know that virtually all the benefit is from topical, and we can get that through mouthwashes, we can get through fluoridated toothpastes. The National Toxicity Program issued a report in August, a meta-review of all the science that now exists on fluoride, and showed a direct inverse correlation between fluoride exposure, dose-related, and lower IQ. It's an issue that we have to all be concerned with. We want high IQ kids.
Mr. Hoyer,
right now.
Mr. Hoyer.
I appreciate that. I look forward to working with you on it.
Okay.
Oh, can I just get out of here? I got sphincter pain. I thought I had him, and I don't have him. Oh, goodness.
In my district, which is a rural district, want to work with you on those goals. What can we do to promote this with young children, healthy lunches, all sorts of areas where local communities can partner with you in this effort?
We are about to reissue the dietary guidelines, and we're going to do it very quickly. We have until January, but we're going to do it. I think we'll have it done even before August. And we took the Biden guidelines, which were 453 pages long and were clearly written by industry, that are incomprehensible, driven by the same industry capture and those kind of carnal impulses that put Fruit Loops at the top of the food pyramid. And we are changing that. So we're going to have 4-page dietary guidelines that tell people essentially eat whole food, eat the food that's good for you. That's going to drive changes in the school lunch programs. And we're going to need your help to make sure we can get good school lunches to Head Start. I've been touring these Head Start facilities. Everything they eat is in a package, and it is just loaded with sugar and with chemicals. We're poisoning this generation, 800,000 kids, the poorest kids in our country, and we're starting them out with this count against them, with diabetes. pre-diabetes. 38% of our youth now are diabetic or pre-diabetic. That was 0 when I was a kid. Anybody thinks that we did gold standard medicine in this country from these institutions, look at our children. They're the sickest children in the world. Laura, you say that excuse me, Congressman DeLauro, you say that you've worked for 20 years on getting food dye out. Give me credit. I got it out in 100 days.
I'll give you that credit.
All right, so let's work together and do something that we all believe in, which is have healthy kids in our country, for God's sake.
Ms.
Do
Dean.
that together. It's not, there's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. There's just kids, and we should all be concerned with them.
Shouldn't they be as fired up as he is? That was the reason why I wanted to include that again, because he went after Rose DeLauro at the end of that diatribe. But what the man's fired up. He's impassioned about this. He wants to see things change. And for so long, these people have sat on their asses and collected checks and done insider trading and gone to the cocktail parties and done nothing. We've paid them $150,000, $200,000 a year of our money, and they've done nothing. They don't even educate themselves. They can't even talk to him. Wait to hear some of the stuff they say to Kristi Noem. It's like, what? What are you talking about? But listen to this guy.
Half of my district is on Medicaid. And the recent budget that is being discussed in the House right now would leave 50,000 people in my community without health insurance. So Secretary Kennedy, my question for you is, why do you think that a community like mine doesn't deserve access to that same basic health care provided by Medicaid that you benefited from?
I do believe they have. I do believe, and that is the design of the Medicaid program.
So do you disagree with the cuts that are being proposed for Medicaid right now?
No, the cuts to, this is I don't know if you understand this or whether you're just mouthing, the Democratic talking points. The cuts to Medicaid are for fraud, waste, and abuse. And I'll tell you what that means. It means that because of DOGE, we were able to determine, and it's about 8 million people who would be affected. Because of DOGE, we were able to determine that there are 1 million people who are claiming Medicaid from multiple states. That's illegal. It's theft. You're not allowed to do that. There are another 1 million people who are collecting both under Obamacare and
Mr. Secretary, that has nothing to do with the budget that's actually being proposed in the House.
These are the only cuts that are being made to Medicaid.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. There are another 1 million illegal aliens. We announced a law yesterday, a rule yesterday, we're not going to pay illegal aliens anymore. And guess what Gavin Newsom did this morning? He said we're going to take all the illegal aliens off the California Medicaid rolls because the feds aren't paying for them anymore. So the compassion ends.
Okay, well, I'm asking.
Okay, so that guy stepped into a hornet's nest. Okay, if we don't have the money, we don't have the money. You, me, we have to live within our means. We have to understand, hey, listen, I'd love to have that Cybertruck, but if I can't afford that Cybertruck, I just can't go sell it to me and keep it coming and make sure you get all the advancements, but I can't pay for it right now. I'm sorry, that's just it. Our budget just doesn't afford it. But just give me the keys, we'll be okay. That's what the Congress is doing right now. They're saying, hey, you understand, some people are going to get cut. Yeah, they're newcomers. They shouldn't be on your rolls. Those 50,000 people that you're talking about, why don't you tell the truth and tell people who they really are? It's not American citizens that you're worried about. You're worried that all of a sudden all these newcomers are now not going to have health insurance that Americans are paying for. And you expect us to be upset about that. You can go stick that.
If anybody here, because you're asking us for money, we appropriated the funds. Did you talk to any of us, Democrat, Republican? You know what? There are actually some very bright Republicans, I will say that, on both sides of the aisle. So the answer to that question is no. So your decisions, were they based on merit or generated by an algorithm? Did somebody get Elon Musk's computer and say, okay, just make 20% cuts? You know,
I mean, I disagree with your entire characterization. It was like the recitation of a narrative that, you know, everybody knows out there. And it's the Democratic Party narrative.
I'm just asking you a question.
It's just not true. We weren't cutting thousands of scientists.
All right,
we weren't cutting clinical trial. I mean, everything you said was essentially dishonest.
All right.
Everything you just said was essentially dishonest. I wish he had just said the word. Everything you just said is a lie. That's what he said on television in front of a camera, and they can't take it. They can't take the fact that somebody sat there in front of them and is not taking their BS anymore. I love it. I love what this Trump administration is doing. I hope you're loving it as well, because I keep thinking to myself that scene in the movie Airplane when the lady won't shut up and everyone is lined up behind him getting ready to slap him, and the guys are punching their fists and people got wrenches and everything. We're not taking it anymore. You're done. You're absolutely done. We're not dealing with your BS. AOC, Jasmine Crockett, we don't care what you have to say at this point. You're cackling hyenas. Nobody cares. Doesn't make any sense. Now we just got to start putting some of these asshats in jail. How can you tell a Dem is lying? Their mouths are moving. Yeah, they lie. And they always got away with it. The most Republicans didn't know how to handle themselves in these hearings. And they would just let them do it. And it's not happening. You remember the movie Airplane? Winning. Love this administration. Yeah, I love what they're doing. Oh, Cynthia says, yeah, she remembers that movie Airplane. He called her out. And, you know, I would, a real Billy Madison moment, I would expect RFK Jr. not to have any F's to give. I would definitely expect him, RFK Jr., get her, hey lady, if you don't know how it works, your opinion means reclaim my time. I don't want nobody to hear what you just said. You know what it exposes? I don't know if you guys get that same feeling, but when you see like Rose DeLauro and you see, I think that's Lois Frankel, and you see some of these people like, how did y'all ever get elected? How did any reasonable person, and Lois Frankel, she's from Florida, I don't, our elections must have been farces for quite some time. Because these people are bumbling idiots. They have no clue what's happening. But over and over and over, some of these people, Rose DeLauro from Connecticut, she's been in there, as she said, for 20 plus years. Hasn't anybody said, wait a minute, do you know anything? Other than knowing how to campaign and take money, do you know anything? Why did it take you 20 years to remove XYZ from food? And he did it in 100 days. See, a real journalist would ask those questions. A real journalist would say to somebody, hey, I just saw that interchange that you had with RFK Jr. Yeah, and he said you've been working on this for 20 years and he just got it done in 100 days. Why did it take you 20 years and still not be able to do it? See, if we had a real media, they would be asking these types of questions. They would always ask him, hey, you're mad because 50,000 people in your district aren't going to be on Medicaid. Do you know who those 50,000 people are in your district? Who are they Americans? You would ask those kind of questions. But they don't even ask. So now after that, we're going to see our Kristi Noem come in, and this was some good stuff.
I would be remiss if I did not address the disturbing actions that we saw last week. There were members of this very committee that took part in an action at Delaney Hall on May 9th that need to be addressed. I served as a member of Congress in this body for 8 years, and I understand the importance of congressional oversight. What happened on May 9th was not oversight. It was a political stunt that put the safety of our law enforcement officers, our agents, our staff, and our detainees at risk. Here are the facts. As a vehicle approached the security gate at Delaney Hall Detention Center, a mob of protesters, including 3 members of Congress, stormed the gate and they trespassed into the detention facility. We have footage of those members of Congress slamming their bodies into our law enforcement officers, shoving them, screaming profanities in their faces, striking them with their fists, and otherwise assaulting law enforcement. The behavior was lawlessness, and it was beneath this body. Members of Congress should not break into detention centers or federal facilities. Had these members requested a tour, we certainly would have facilitated a tour. As a body knows, there are proper protocols and there are procedures that must be abided by. These congressional members and staff visit our facilities all of the time, and these members could follow the policies that have been in place, and they would have been followed. We would have facilitated a tour of this important facility. However, even after these members assaulted our federal law enforcement officers, we still provided them with a tour of that facility. I'm glad that at their press conference following the tour, these members acknowledged that Delaney Hall is in good condition and meets deferral standards. Charges made by these politicians that Delaney does not have the proper permitting is false. We have valid permits and inspections for plumbing and electricity and fire codes that have been cleared. Lastly, I'd like to remind Americans and everyone in this body who is detained in this detention facility are murderers, rapists, known terrorists, MS-13 gang members, drug traffickers, and other heinous actors. I hope that those...
Now, understand what she just did there. Again, you invited this woman in, you wanted some information from her, you've got a television camera on her, and she just told the world, whoever's listening, because I'm sure it won't be shown on MSNBC and CNN, blah, 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 that the people in this prison, this detention center, are the worst of the worst. Meaning, your Democrat Party is bending over backwards to help the worst of the worst of the worst get released into our society. You gave her that opportunity, she took it.
Members of Congress will so passionately protest on behalf of the American victims that they were elected to represent, and not just violent criminals who are in this country illegally.
Would you advise governors to give public assurances that federal immigration enforcement will not take place in their state?
I had to include this because I felt like I was what? You want the Director of Homeland Security to guarantee to governors that immigration rules won't be used in their state? Even you're going to hear her response. What? What did you just say, you flipping moron? Or did you seriously just ask me this in an open forum? Did the person who slipped you the questions, punk you? Is this candid camera? You want me to guarantee to governors that we won't enforce immigration? You seriously asked her that question?
I advise to governors that
they give public assurances that immigration enforcement will not occur in their states.
No, I prefer that governors partner with us to make their states safer. I believe that the relationships that we have on the ground in many states is absolutely critical to making sure.
So the answer is no. You would not advise them to tell their constituents, no, there will not be any enforcement in this state.
It must have sounded good when he read it on paper and go, okay, so I'm going to ask her, so you want me to ask her to tell everybody, all the governors, that there won't be any immigration enforcement in their states. That's what you want me to say? Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Oh. and I know some people don't like when I pause a lot and should let things play, but you had to concentrate on that one. And then, if it wasn't bad enough, he just repeated it. So what you're saying is, you're not going to tell the governors that you're not going to enforce immigration. That's my job. My job is to enforce immigration. I'm looking at your comments, you're like, what? He actually said that.
Would you have publicly told immigrants, as governor in your state, not to worry about deportations because your state wasn't a border state like Texas or California?
I felt as though my state was a border state because we were every day impacted by the drug trafficking and the human trafficking that was coming over the border and had put a foothold in the state of South Dakota. Every state was dramatically impacted.
Okay, so you would not have told immigrants in your state, don't worry about deportation. You would not have said that.
The laws need to apply equally to everybody. That's what is so discouraging about the previous administration is they picked winners.
Okay,
losers.
so that's the question has been answered. That's fine. You would not say that. You would tell your constituents immigration laws will be enforced in this state whether or not we are a border state like California or Texas.
Laws will be enforced.
There are hills to die on. This guy lost a leg. He crawled a little bit further and lost his other leg, and then crawled a little bit further and lost his arm, and didn't realize I keep losing body parts because I look like a fool. So you're sure about that? You're not going to tell people that immigration shouldn't be enforced. They're not going to really get, what? I know some of you guys are surprised. I had to watch it like 3 times ago. This is a Benny Hill skit, isn't it? And I'm sure it shocked her. Like, what are you talking about?
Absolutely.
In January, the governor of Puerto Rico made an opposite claim. She told immigrants not to worry about deportations because we're not Texas or California. Days later, ICE conducted enforcement operations in immigrant neighborhoods in San Juan. Was that a responsible thing to say?
I didn't hear her say that and haven't heard this before, but I believe that the partnerships we have with governors is extremely powerful in keeping their communities safe.
That's a no answer. Was she aware, was she briefed by DHS about the immigrant raids that would happen in the ensuing days?
I have no knowledge to that situation. What I will tell you is that every governor that I know of feels the responsibility of protecting their state, and they should be making the best decisions to secure their communities and their families that live there.
And that includes telling people in their states or jurisdictions the administration's policy is that there will be raids to detain people who were undocumented in their jurisdictions, not to tell them, don't worry, this will not happen here.
I am not certain as to the situation you're speaking to. I'll get more information.
None of us are. None of us understands what the hell this dude is talking about. The least of it is the director of Homeland Security. You're asking me what the lady governor in Puerto Rico said to her people, and I need to answer for what she said, and now you're asking me some other hypothetical, and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell you're saying. It's like Biden during a debate. What the hell just came out of your mouth? Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. You guys are hearing it. Ooh. I don't understand the words coming out of your mouth. You flipping moron.
So that I can respond to you appropriately.
But hypothetically, as governor, would you have told the people of your state the laws will be enforced here as in any other state?
What I would tell my people of South Dakota is that my job is to work for them and to represent them and to be their leader and protect their best interests. That includes making sure that citizens of South Dakota are my number one priority every day.
I understand that, and I thank you for your time. And like I said at the beginning of my turn, I do look forward to working constructively on ways to reimagine FEMA and disaster response and to make sure that those funds, which today you have told us are not guaranteed for the people of Puerto Rico, are guaranteed and delivered on time. Thank you.
I hope when he got done, he ran out in the hallway and talked to his wife's boyfriend and said, how'd I do?
Oh, you talked about the rule of law. Are you telling the committee that due process for anybody that's picked up in this country should not be followed?
Congressman, we have utilized due process as it is laid out in the tools that Congress has given us. We have followed the tools and the processes to which Congress has given us to give due process to people appropriately as it is due.
So your testimony to this committee under oath is that everybody that ICE has picked up in this country has been given every opportunity as it Section 5 under the Constitution provides.
Correct. I believe everybody has gotten due process and every person has been treated appropriately according to the civil or the criminal action to which they were encountering individuals and brought into our detainment and then also removed from this country.
So your answer is
the tools
yes.
that you have
He kept saying, so what you're saying is there's still a chance. Oh, you idiot.
given us
No,
as this
no, I'm
body
talking about
for
the
due process
Constitution of
have
the
been
United
implemented.
States. I'm not talking about tools. The Constitution is clear.
Correct. And
your testimony under oath to this committee is that everybody that ICE has picked up and any other agency of DHS has conformed to those statutes.
for example, Congressman, expedited
yes or no?
removal.
No, I don't need an
Expedited
example.
removal is one of the
Madam
tools
Secretary,
that you have
I
given
got
us to
4
utilize
seconds.
as due process.
I just need a yes or no.
Sir, that is the due process tool that
You
you
got
have
the
given us to
bonus
utilize.
plan.
It has been appropriately.
So obviously,
Gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Chairman.
I guess they didn't hear that the judge said that they can use the Alien Enemies Act and get rid of these people. That's your due process. The Constitution says something. Here's a law. We're using the law as it's written. And a judge came out and said, yep, you can use it. So I understand what you're talking about, Bernie, whatever the hell your name is. You look stupid. Means you don't know what's really going on.
Sorry. I ask unanimous consent to enter for the record. One of our colleagues had asked.
All right. So everything you've seen up until this point is basically have been appetizers. What you're going to see right now is the entire hearing go completely off the rail. Marjorie Taylor Greene has got a document that she wants to basically put in place that says that the Maryland man is actually MS-13. And they don't want you to hear anything about that. Nope, don't want you to know anything about that. So let's just listen as this fireworks begin.
There was evidence if the so-called Maryland man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was MS-13. According to the Attorney General of the United States, she posted that the evidence shows Kilmar Abrego Garcia has repeatedly been identified as a member of MS-13 by a Maryland County Police Gang unit, which I introduced for the record, a reliable confidential informant, ICE officers, an immigration judge agreed, and an appellate board agreed.
Without.
So you have, is that a court order? Well, I object.
No, she can put anything she wants in the record. She's not complying to your request, Mr. Goldman.
She asked for unanimous consent.
Okay, so you're objecting to her putting that into the record?
I am objecting subject to a clarification. Is that a court order that establishes that he's a member of MS-13?
An immigration judge agreed that he was MS-13.
For bail purposes.
An appellate board agreed.
Don't misrepresent.
Hold on.
A judge.
Everybody pause. We're going to let one person talk at a time. You ask a question. Answer the question, please.
According to the Attorney General of the United States, she informed the country that an immigration judge agreed that your Maryland man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, is MS-13. An appellate board agreed. ICE officers
you are misstating
agreed.
what
A reliable
Mr. Goldman,
informant.
the clock is not yours right now. She has the floor. Please continue answering the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A Maryland County...
She's not answering the question, sir.
No, she's going to answer the question, and then you can object to her answer.
Make sure that she answers the question?
Finish answer. You just said, please finish your answer.
A Maryland County Police Gang unit agreed that he's MS-13. A reliable confidential informant agreed that he's MS-13. ICE officers agreed that he's MS-13. An immigration judge agreed that he's MS-13. An appellate board agreed that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, your Maryland man, is MS-13.
Okay. I object. The floor. What do you want to say?
I object because she is misstating the record.
What are you objecting to? And why, dude? You ever see the movie A Few Good Men? And when Tom Cruise Demi Moore kept objecting, and the other counsel with Tom Cruise said, "One objection, okay, When you keep objecting, you're bringing more focus on the thing that you're trying to object to, and people are like, you look stupid, bro. she's got document after document. Well, I object to the documents. I object to the objection. What in the hell are you talking about? He's never coming back. It's gone. Forget about it. Your objections mean nothing. What exactly are you fighting for? You're spending American dollars in a hearing with 100+ people there, and you're objecting about a MS-13 gang member. Why? Why?
The facts, that is not accurate, and therefore I object to that being introduced. Sir, can I explain? You let her go on.
Go ahead.
There is no final court order establishing that he's a member. Maybe he is. So you should put all that evidence before a judge, and if he is MS-13, he should be deported. That's what we're talking about, but you're misstating what all of that evidence is.
No, I think I'm going to make. You agree, though, that this is doctored. Is that right?
The same protocols that are
Madam
applied
Secretary,
to every
I want you to have
with
credibility,
law enforcement.
and I want you to be taken seriously. Is this doctored or is it not
Sir,
doctored?
I am taken quite seriously
Is it
because
doctored
I
or
approach my
not
job with
doctored?
the importance that the president has given me to do
I
my
understand.
job.
Is it doctored or not
One thing
doctored?
that's important to remember is that every single time a case is built,
Madam Secretary, I have a 7-year-old, a
same
6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. I have a bullshit detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not doctored?
Sir, the protocols in the case built against
Can you
Rico
answer the
Garcia
question?
were exactly the same.
Madam Secretary,
I don't have
you're-
any knowledge as to that photo you're pointing to.
Okay, can you
I
take
don't,
her,
sir.
can you show her the photo? Walk her the photo down there. No, that one. Please take a look at this photo. It was tweeted by the president on April 21. It's been hanging out there for about a month.
So what is your point? Well, thank you, Mr.
Democrats, it's not working. What is your point? Your point is he's an idiot. The point is that these Democrats are completely gone. To the point where that was the point. For her to finally just say, what in the hell are we doing? What's the point of this? What do you want? What are we talking about this? He's never coming back. Period. Why are you still, what poll, what information are you guys looking at that tells the American people any of this crap matters? Nobody gives a crap. Maybe any of these people. Maybe the idiots out there trying to block the doors. You got the president overseas killing it, making huge gazillion-dollar deals, and you people are over here in Congress, instead of doing work for Americans, are complaining about the Maryland man in a picture that you just admitted is almost a month old. A month later, you're still crying about the Maryland man. Man, I wish you had that much zeal in governing for American citizens. It's insane.
Chairman, and also thank you, Chairman McCall. Good to see you again. I was very privileged to serve with you when I served in this body, and to Ranking Member Thompson. I appreciate the invitation to be with all of you today and talk about important matters about securing our homeland here in the United States of America. Now, having previously served as a member of Congress, it's my honor to be on this side of the dais to present as the Secretary of Homeland Security. Today, I'm proud to discuss the accomplishments of President Trump and all that he has accomplished since he's taken office in the White House. But first, I would be remiss if I did not address the disturbing actions that we saw last week. There were members of this very committee that took part in an action at Delaney Hall on May 9th that need to be addressed. I served as a member of Congress in this body for 8 years, and I understand the importance of congressional oversight. What happened on May 9th was not oversight. It was a political stunt that put the safety of our law enforcement officers, our agents, our staff, and our detainees at risk. Here are the facts. As a vehicle approached the security gate at Delaney Hall Detention Center, a mob of protesters, including 3 members of Congress, stormed the gate and they trespassed into the detention facility. We have footage of those members of Congress slamming their bodies into our law enforcement officers, shoving them, screaming profanities in their faces, striking them with their fists, and otherwise assaulting law enforcement. The behavior was lawlessness, and it was beneath this body. Members of Congress should not break into detention centers or federal facilities. Had these members requested a tour, we certainly would have facilitated a tour. As the body knows, there are proper protocols and there are procedures that must be abided by. These congressional members and staff visit our facilities all of the time, and these members could follow the policies that have been in place, and they would have been followed. We would have facilitated a tour of this important facility. However, even after these members assaulted our federal law enforcement officers, we still provided them with a tour of that facility. I'm glad that at their press conference following the tour, these members acknowledged that Delaney Hall is in good condition and meets deferral standards. Charges made by these politicians that Delaney does not have the proper permitting is false. We have valid permits and inspections for plumbing and electricity and fire codes that have been cleared. Lastly, I'd like to remind Americans and everyone in this body who is detained in this detention facility are murderers, rapists, known terrorists, MS-13 gang members, drug traffickers, and other heinous actors. I hope that those members of Congress will so passionately protest on behalf of the American victims that they were elected to represent, and not just violent criminals who are in this country illegally. And now that I've addressed this issue, I want to return to the reason why I'm in front of your committee today. I want to talk about the first 100 days under the Trump administration. Under President Trump and his leadership, we have already delivered for the American people a drastic turnaround in Homeland Security, from the southern border to our Coast Guard to cyberspace, and we're just getting started. We've delivered the most secure border in American history. At the southern border, we have obtained near total control with daily encounters down 93% since President Trump has been in office. March saw the lowest numbers in American history of border encounters at just 7,200. Under the previous administration, U.S. Customs and Border Protection was at times under Joe Biden encountering over 15,000 people per day. This astonishing turnaround is a testament to the resolve and to the leadership of President Trump to make America safe again. And as well, it is a testament to the incredible work done by the men and women of the Department of Homeland Security. The secure border has allowed Border Patrol to zero in on fighting cartels and all of their illicit activities. Under President Trump's leadership, 6 cartels, 4 dangerous and criminal gangs have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations. This has allowed us to take a whole-of-government approach to address the illegal activities that these murderers and drug traffickers are taking on. In March, fentanyl traffic at the border fell by 54% compared to the previous year. And we are enforcing immigration laws to identify, arrest, detain, and remove dangerous illegal criminals. We're prioritizing those who have committed crimes and aliens who are a threat to public safety and national security, especially those that are affiliated with terrorist organizations like MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. This includes those that already have final orders of removal. We've also worked to enforce President Trump's America First trade agenda, and Joe Biden's trade policies hollowed out our industrial base, shipped our jobs overseas. Our tariffs have been an effective negotiating tool, and we're also reforming emergency management in this country. We have the FEMA Review Council, which will be doing its work to make recommendations to the White House. We are also addressing cybersecurity, making sure that CISA's back on mission at protecting the homeland. And the Coast Guard is the only U.S. military branch under the umbrella of the Department of Homeland Security. We're making sure they have the resources and the vision to leave and be the point of the spear in the future. Since I took office, one of the responsibilities that I have is in reforming the Secret Service. We've reassessed Secret Service's needs, gotten recruitment away from Biden administration's DEI objectives, and made sure that they are equipped and ready to take on the task of protecting the more powerful into the future. We are so grateful for their bravery, their dedication, and their patriotism. It's our responsibility to continue providing them with the resources that they need to continue to do the important work that they do. Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for the time today. Thank you for allowing me to be here to get the facts out to the American people and to members of this committee of all of the good work that the people of the Department of Homeland Security are doing to serve the American public. With that, I look forward to your questions.
All right, so I played that at the end because I wanted you to get her full opening statement in so you can see she was laying a foundation for these people, I think, to be arrested, these idiots that have caused different problems. There's something that happened at RFK Jr.'s hearing that even underscores that. Watch what happened at his hearing.
More with less. Budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects.
The witness will suspend. The committee will come to order. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be tolerated. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
Don't touch me. I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't doing nothing. Said the guy who was sitting there breaking up a congressional hearing. He got tossed on his butt. That's what needs to happen to these people. These people, when they go into these hearings, need to understand we're just not going to take it anymore. Those days are gone. Now, speaking of those days being gone, and I'm going to wrap up this hearing stuff right now. There's a whole lot more. Actually, you know what? There is one more that I do want to show you because let me see. Do I have this one yet? Because I think this was during his. Hold on one second. Let me pull this in because this is pretty interesting. Of all people worried about sick kids and everything else, that one person who you would think would know to shut up because he's probably going to be running for president is Bernie Sanders. So I want you to hear what Bernie Sanders had to say as he began mouthing off here. All right, hold on. Let me get the right one here so I can play this for you. Okay, here it is. This is Bernie. All right, let me pull this up here. Okay, here we go.
All right, we talk about austerity, doing more with less, but in that very same bill that is being worked on in the House right now, there are $235 billion in tax breaks for the top 0.2%. Do you think that makes sense when that same bill would throw 13 million people off of Medicaid? Should we give tax breaks to billionaires and throw kids and others off of Medicaid?
You're conflating the congressional bills with proposals from the president. The president
No, I'm talking
is
about
not
the
making
congressional bill. I'm talking about the bill, the reconciliation bill.
I mean, the president is not trying to do tax cuts for billionaires. He's trying to have no tax on tips and no tax for
$235 billion by
how many people, how many billionaires do you know that are making overtime or making any part of the
$235 billion. Look, it's a big bill. There are a lot of provisions in it.
They don't even want to talk about the stuff that people, it's not about billionaires and millionaires. It's about people who are working on overtime and tips. But I don't want to talk about that. I feel like I'm watching a comedy routine. And I think to myself often as I watch these people, they can't be this feckless. They can't be this far out of touch. But hopefully this statement here puts a lot of stuff in perspective for these nuts. Because now you're going to hear, we heard Stephen Miller say it. And now you're going to hear an actual member of the Trump cabinet. See, Stephen Miller isn't a cabinet official. He's an advisor. But you're going to hear an actual member of the cabinet say the nuclear option is in play. Listen to this, and it should chill every Democrat.
Ms. Noem, are you familiar with Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2 of the Constitution that covers the suspension of the writ of habeas corpus?
Yes.
It says that the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless, when cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. Are you aware of which presidents have suspended the writ of habeas corpus?
I know that President Lincoln did.
Yeah, also Roosevelt and President Grant. You testified under oath, I believe, that the Biden administration allowed an invasion into our country. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So do you think it falls under the constitutional guidelines that I just read to you?
I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but I believe it does.
You've also witnessed that the Democrats here today and also radical activist judges are trying to halt and deny the president's agenda to carry out his constitutional duties to keep Americans safe and carry out his promise to the American people to secure the border and carry out mass deportations of those who have entered the country illegally. Knowing this, are you open and supportive of this constitutional option to suspend the writ of habeas corpus to keep Americans safe and carry out the president's agenda?
Well, this is something that's not in my purview to weigh in on. This is the president's prerogative to pursue, and he has not indicated to me that he will or will not be taking that action.
I want to thank Rogan O'Hanley for his efforts to bring this constitutional solution into the national conversation. Now I want to shift gears real quick.
All right, so she wouldn't say no. Yeah, if he wants to do it, he's got to make the call. That should have, in my estimation, should put chills up the spine of Democrats right now. You have a sitting member of the president's cabinet who says, yes, we're aware. Yes, we understand. Is he going to do it? That's up to him to make the call. Well, if it wasn't up to him to make the call, then that would mean it wasn't even being discussed. It's obviously at this point, it's on the table. Stephen Miller has talked about it, and now Kristi Noem has talked about it. And it's out there. It's out there for people to see. And you don't see the Democrats trying to wrangle too much because they know the judgment yesterday pretty much gives him the ability at this point to declare an invasion and use the Alien Enemies Act as a predicate to suspending habeas. So one of the reasons I was telling you to get some gold, because stuff might get squirrely. It might get real squirrely. We don't know what's going to happen, but I could see these people going absolutely bat poop crazy. I need a chill after that scene. Yeah, Trump's going to do it. I believe it's yeah, they floated it out there. Oh boy. Yep. That's twice now. That's twice now we've heard it, like in the last week. You wouldn't even be talking about this. That congressman, I forget his name, but he's on the right. What's his name? Crane. You don't even bring up this stuff unless it's sort of like, don't draw the gun unless you're prepared to use it. And you're talking about it. And what they're trying to do, as he said, is to, I don't know, use a soft disclosure and let people know for two reasons. One, when it happens, if it happens. And two, many of you now should go look, make sure you're well acknowledged in what suspending the writ of habeas does. Because there's still a lot of people like, what's that? What are they talking about? What do you mean? He didn't explain it. Nobody seems to explain it when they talk about it. What does the writ of habeas being suspended do? When did Abraham Lincoln use it? When did FDR use it? When did Grant use it? How is it used? Yeah, start wondering, start thinking about that. Yeah, Crane's a good guy. Exactly. Crane's a good guy. So he dropped it out there. He already knew the answer. This was some sort, this happened today. President Trump is over in Qatar and he's having dinner tonight, actually probably right about now. And they're over here talking, and you know full well, there's no way that Kristi Noem, A, didn't know that was coming, and B, hadn't heard from the president how far you can go. So it's being bandied about, and you need to be prepared to see what's going on with here. I'm quite certain that President Trump already knows at what point he'll enact what needs to be done. Timing is everything. He's way ahead of the far wing. Yeah, absolutely. I fully believe that. Let's see. Steve Miller is a beast. He is. Habeas canceled is martial law, not full martial law. It won't affect you. You're an American citizen, I presume, Captain Dave. But it means other people are in big trouble. Who's on Mount Rushmore? Dems don't know it. I'd hate to be them and just find out. I would. Yeah, Steve, you're right. I would hate to be one of the Democrats and have to find out. Yep, no one can stop what is coming. he's killing it. He's killing it. His administration is killing it. They're out there doing what they need to do. They're not taking any prisoners, not giving any mercy. You pushed this man too far. You tried to kill him. You tried to take everything away from him, tried to hurt his family, and you're surprised that he's so-called retribution. No, if you didn't do anything, don't worry about anything. I wouldn't worry about anything if I didn't do anything. So, you other people, yeah, you might have something to worry about. I could foresee that happening. I just want to let you guys know some housekeeping as we're getting ready to do super chats tonight. Let's see, what time is it now? It's 4:30, so we're going to look at 7:30. Give me time to eat and get ready and put some content together for you tonight. Maybe some video of President Trump having dinner over in Qatar. Yeah, he's in Qatar tonight, and see what other news has popped up. I don't even feel like covering any Democrat stuff because you see the kind of insanity that they're doing. Hopefully, maybe tonight, by the time I come back on, they're a couple of them are in cuffs, maybe. Who knows? But just want to let you know, and I'm working on something with the new studio. Not sure what the time frame is. Going to try to put that together. But my idea of putting together a actual network and doing something, if not 24/7, maybe 12 hours a day, where you guys can come in and check different things. Working on a couple different things to bring even more content to you guys. So, also before I go, I've talked to JJ. Pastor JJ wants to do a prayer night next Thursday. And lawyer JJ is going to join me on the real estate stuff that we're going to be putting together. I'm not sure if I can do it this weekend. Ashley and her husband will be in town next weekend, so probably won't be next weekend, but we're going to pick a Saturday, probably the Saturday following it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have JJ on to talk about the legal aspects of very different things in the law, what you had to need, even if you, depending on what state you are. He's in Florida, but there are certain things that you can and can't do anywhere. I'm going to bring on a hard money lender. Some of you guys are probably saying, what's a hard money lender? Well, if I told you you could get involved in real estate, no matter your age, no matter your credit, no matter your income, you'd probably say, no way. And I'm going to have one of these guys on, and hopefully I'm going to get a hold of him, and he's going to tell you what he does, the criteria he looks at, and it doesn't really matter who you are. You're not see, when you go and buy a house with it to live in, they want to know all about you, and they're going to look at you, and they're going to say your taxes, and they want to see your payroll. Nope, that's not what hard money lenders do. Hard money lenders look at what? They look at the deal. If the deal makes sense, that's why I've always said to you, if the deal makes sense, there is no problem getting money. And I say that confidently, and some people think I'm crazy. Here's what a hard money lender is going to see. One, he's going to look at experience, your ability to do the deal, and that'll determine what kind of money you get. So then you say to Barry, well, I don't have any experience. What does that mean? Well, you have to start someplace, or you buy experience. What do you mean by buy experience? Well, again, if the deal makes sense, there's always money out there. If the deal makes sense, and you approach somebody and say, listen, I found this deal, I'd like to partner with you. If you go in with it, I'm going to be able to get the money, or we'll be able to get the money as partners, and we can split the profits. You do a couple of those until you don't need the person with experience. Where do I get those people who I might be able to partner with? I'm going to show you that too. You see, it's all based on knowledge from your own home. I will show you how to find a deal. I will show you how to put a deal together. I will show you how to find potential partners. No matter where you are in the country, there are potential partners. I will show you how to get a deal funded. No matter where you are in the country, there are people who will write a check and don't care if you can fog a mirror and you've had some experience, or you have a partner who has some experience, you can get the money. Scout's honor. I'm telling you, it's absolutely true. Forget whatever everyone has told you. We are in a different age right now, and there are people sitting on the sidelines with a whole bunch of cash. lots and lots and lots of cash, who now see the ability to put some of that cash on the street. And when I mean, I'm not talking about, those kind of guys, those guys. I'm talking about serious people who lend money and invest in property and invest in deals based upon the criteria of the deal. Some of you are probably going, there's no way. I'm like, yeah, there's a way. That's why I have said, no matter where you are in the country, I'm going to get you to a position, maybe not after one show, but after, I'd say 2 or 3 shows, you could literally parachute into any area in the country and within 4 or 5 days have a deal. Just telling you. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that point. All right, let's see here. Larry's been having trouble getting to sleep lately. I just lay there in nervous anticipation of what education we will get in your next show. Thank you. Barbara, thank you. Jennifer Nunn, sounding is cutting out. I don't know, that was earlier. Josh doing stuff, thank you. Job for 9, looking forward to Saturday getting my real estate license, so thank you, Barry. If JJ can't make it, maybe I can begin a little dabble into that area so you guys can get your feet wet into something here. Myrna, sound is great, money for Bibles. Thank you very much, Myrna. We're getting those out too. A lot of work in that, by the way. Whew. The guy from the post office comes and goes, more. CR, Boeing better get Air Force One done super fast now. Exactly, 96 billion. Logical thinker, thank you. BB, tears at the salute of our flag. Jeanette, I'm crying tears of joy. Peace in the Middle East. Thank you, President Trump. Maybe one day we will actually get to go visit some of these countries without fear. Absolutely. Chapo, if the illegals, leave now and go back to their country and apply, they can benefit from these jobs here. If not, see, that's another thing that doesn't make any sense. Get on the airplane, do the right thing. We're going to have a whole bunch of jobs, and now all he's saying is you can come back in the front door. No questions asked. Even though you kicked in the back window, I'm not gonna hold that against you. Just go around come back around the front, and we'll see what we can do. I don't know why Democrats are against that. BB, this is for saying you can go stick that. Robert Esteban Moreno, I want prosperity. You deserve prosperity. Let me be the first one, if you haven't heard it today. You deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. And Donna Hill, thank you very much. Yeah, don't let anyone take that away from you and say you don't deserve it. You definitely deserve it. All right, so I am going to jump into the after party light we have here on YouTube, and then tonight at 7:30, we'll see what we can drum up. Let's see, some of them are okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at somebody going, yes, you can have offering 150 grand with no interest because it's a corporation, not a bank. Exactly. All right, guys. Well, ladies, we'll see you tonight.
Thank you.